Hi guys, and welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast with me, Alex Wagner. And today I am finally bringing you the episode that features an interview with Shrewsbury's Mayor, Alex Wagner. It's something that we've done for a while on the Shrewsbury Biscuit. I do it when I can. I like to interview the mayor. We missed last year's mayor, but mostly I like to bring the mayor on just so you guys can get to know who your mayor is as a person. This episode was recorded at the Prince of Wales pub in Bellevue, a great little pub, a good pub in Shrewsbury, but one of the best in the country. So I was really privileged to go and sit in there, and where we sat was beautifully renovated. There is a TikTok or a reel out there where I filmed the session, just kind of little bits of what I was doing. And if you're a Shrewsbury Town fan, it's beautiful in there, so make sure you pop in. I am accompanied by my co-host of occasion, Mr. Mini-Biscuit Timmy. I wanted to bring him on the episode because he didn't know what a mayor does. So I wanted him to bring his own questions. He had some ideas, what he wanted to talk about. And he enjoyed it. He went home and, he was really happy with what he did and told all his friends in school that he interviewed the mayor. That was really, really good. Now, I need to let you listeners know, before we get into this is not a political episode. Alex has been on the show a couple of times. First time was when this young politician came across my bow. I was kind of like, what is this child? Sorry, that was really disrespectful, Alex. But in regards to what I thought were stuffy men with smoking pipes and with jackets and talking about politics, there's this young guy who's really passionate about politics in this town. So that's why I brought him on the first time. And then since then, I've saw him at events and we've crossed paths many times. He's a nice guy. But this is not a political podcast. It's a profiling episode interview because the Shrewsbury Biscuit is an escape from those political things. It is a way for you to switch off and then learn about someone in a safe environment where we're not going to be arguing about the Northwest Relief Road, the gyratory, or the potholes in Shrewsbury, which of course are an issue. And I'm very passionate about this town. I love this town. There are issues, but there are podcasts for that. And the Biscuit isn't one of them. I would like to nudge you towards my good friend and mentor and peer, Mr. Jim Hawkins, who does a lot of that with his podcast. I have no problem sending you in his direction if that's the kind of thing you want to listen to. But for now, this is a nice, peaceful. Hi, Alex. How are you? How's your tenure been as the mayor so far? That's what this is, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to keep it short and sweet, guys. I will catch you at the end with my outro. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, here is your mayor, Alex Wagner. Enjoy.
Said I took my lumps, roll with the punches, made my bed, ignored my hunches. I focused on the wrong stuff, but baby, you are the change now. Let them talk, let them talk, let them talk. Took my lumps, roll with the punches, made my bed.
Hello guys, welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit. Today we're coming to you from the Prince of Wales pub in Colham. It's a really great space. Is it Colham or is it Bellevue?
I say this is Bellevue actually when you get this far
Bellevue. Bellevue, yeah, okay, right, yeah. So we used to live around here. We used to live in Bestford Square. It's really cool. And this pub in the summer is absolutely bouncing. And not just that, this is an award-winning pub. This is one of the best pubs. If you look at cameras listings, it's one of the best in the country. So we're very lucky to have that here on our doorstep. And today, a very special one. Not only am I bringing Mini-Biscuit Timmy, say hi.
Yo.
Where does that come from? Yo. But we'll also bring in the Mayor of Shrewsbury, Alex Wagner. Hello.
Afternoon. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. This is the first time I've interviewed you with proper microphones, isn't it?
We've done Zoom before. I think I've been in events where you've come up to me with a phone with a microphone thing on the end. But this is excellent, and we're in the actually I think fairly newly redone Bar of the Prince, which is
if you're a Shrewsbury Town fan, this is a great place to come and watch the match or be around supporters before you walk up to the stadium.
Or get the bus from here. There you are. I've done that many a time.
Is there a bus up? There is, isn't there?
On match day. Yeah,
the park and ride.
A bit of free advertising.
Have you got to many matches this season?
You know what? My diary this year has not been very forgiving, and matches haven't been great. I did though get to the 2-1 win against Barrow on Tuesday, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
I you know what? I wish I could have gone to Swindon. I thought I couldn't this weekend where we beat them 3-1, and by all accounts the best game in a long time. But it's a bit of a diary clash with another mayoral event. So there, if you want to be a football fan and go to every game, don't be mayor.
Don't become the mayor. We were there, weren't we? It was good vibes, wasn't it? There.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we had a season where it's been a bit dire. So a win like that, it just lifts you for a few days. I'm still feeling it now, to be honest. It's really good. So the last time I spoke to you, I mean, that wasn't like, I mean, I've seen you at Sultan Hall. I've seen you. Wow, oh my God, I've seen you loads of places.
Radbrook, we've been at before for the international community event up there.
Yeah, that was pre-mayor though, wasn't it?
That was a little while ago, a good couple of years.
And then 2022, I think you came on because I was like, oh my God, there's this young guy doing politics. He's usually for old men and pipes. Like we got this young whippersnapper doing these amazing things in the community, and you've gone from strength to strength. Your name was all over the town during the election. How did that feel, seeing all that, by the way?
I mean, it's been a long time coming. So they say elections aren't won in weeks; they're won in years. I mean, we started preparing not just to win, but actually what we wanted to do and change years in advance. I mean, I remember, I think it was 2022, we spoke, and then it was pretty clear that there was a lot that we needed to get on with changing in Shrewsbury and Shropshire. You know, you speak to residents, you knock on doors, you come to a pub like this or whatever, and people love Shrewsbury. It's a great place to live, but I think there was a sense that the council at the county level was just dysfunctional, basically, and running out of money and couldn't do very much right. I think the town, people love and appreciate the work. I think the quarry is great, but we're looking for a bit of ambition. Really, the last year has been about starting to put that stuff into practice. You know, it's easy to talk. It's easy to share what you think about stuff. It's a lot harder to do it. But I think we're getting there. You know,
I do feel like bad for a lot of politicians. I mean, some politicians. I mean, I've got to be careful because I've just got a job back at the council, so I've got to be careful what I'm saying. But like, I feel like some politicians probably deserve a bit of a grilling. But like, I feel like sometimes the good guys come on TV and they're already getting like bam, 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 like hammered with questions. I think there's like there's a process of interviewing politicians where it seems like very like hard hitting, almost to try and trip you up. And I was watching an interview the other day. And it was a politician in America, I believe, and this girl was just grilling him and grilling him and grilling him and grilling him. I was just like, oh my God, like that's quite tough.
Well, yeah, but there's a place for that, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you want people in leadership positions at any level to be able to cope with that and be able to fire back and be able to be quick on their feet. But I think that is different to the actual day-to-day business of running things and trying to change things. Again, that isn't an overnight process. That takes a long time. And I think if I've got one thing that I think being mayor has not taught, but sort of cemented in my mind, it's voters are really clever and really switched on, and a lot of people are really engaged. They will know better than people up the top. Actually listen to people. You know, you're not going to be able to do anything or change anything if you're going in completely the wrong direction. I think that you can get in your own head about things. Actually, if you've consulted a lot of people, spoken to lots of people, got the votes, thought about it in great detail, people aren't stupid. They know stuff is going to take a while or cost money. You've got to be honest with that.
This is what I love about doing the Biscuit, is because I'm out in the community all the time. I've been focusing a lot on looking at like sort of community heroes really over the last few episodes. We interviewed Tat FB recently, the Cake Tunis, one of Shrewsbury's brightest social media stars, 400,000 followers, doing amazing things. The Saha football team that he's now part of has welcomed him in and doing so many amazing things around the community. And then Libby Glicksman, who I interviewed earlier today, who is just like, as far as like Shrewsbury's concerned, she's a shining beacon. She really is like absolutely like head over heels for the town.
And yeah, we're full of amazing people. And one of the common themes I see as mayor going around is people who are doing amazing things are usually blissfully unaware that they're doing something amazing and completely just think they're doing their bit. Because those sorts of people just, you know, they have it in them, right? And it's interesting here you're playing for Saha. So I played for Llanymonic Juniors for quite a few years, and my memory is getting thrashed by Saha quite a lot. So yeah, clearly.
Well, Timmy won't mind me saying that his first love was theatre. Like it went from a young age. He was on stage at Theatre 7 with Get Your Wiggle On, with Curtain Call, lots of different places and things. And then he developed this like love for football as he got older. Mainly with us going to Shrewsbury Town, wasn't it? I think that's kind of like the catalyst. So he wanted to join a football team that from a later age, and he hadn't been doing that from a foundation sort of basis. So he's playing catch up now with kids that have been doing it for, you know, half life more than him. So like lots of teams were like looking at him and going, nah, no thanks. Whereas like the Sahar Jets are like, no, we'll bring him in. He can get in amongst the lads. He can develop slowly, and he's coming on leaps and bounds because somebody gave him the chance, and that's Harry. And that's just nice to see. It's a different kind of coaching.
Yeah, and you want to give everyone a game, don't you?
Yep.
That was my dad was manager of one of the teams for a while, and I think my mum was involved in the sort of admin at the club when we lived just outside of town. And our attitude, or the Lanny attitude, I think, was always about give everyone a go, make sure everyone plays, because actually you don't know what people are going to be able to do you? I mean, it's kind of the same in politics and chairing meetings and all of that. You want to make sure everyone can speak and get their voice across, because just being louder doesn't...
Your microphone's falling. Sorry, it's that mic stand.
Just being louder doesn't mean you're better.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of examples about that in politics. Do you feel like from a young age you were helped on a lot, like because you were younger, maybe? Like, I mean, people can get into politics at any age. And I'm not trying to be ageist, but you were young through the gates, weren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. You stand out more, which has pros and cons. I mean, in an election, you want to stand out, right? You want to be able to show that you can change stuff, and especially for me, the first seat I won when I had Bowbrook, which is no longer with us thanks to the boundary review, was the safest Tory seat in Shrewsbury for many, many, many years. So I think standing out and being bold and kind of out there made a big difference.
Old timers that are like, all right then, whippersnapper, let's have you.
Of course. But that's, I mean, it's, again, I think that the reflection I have on the last few years is people in Shrewsbury, I'm sure everywhere, who are interested in politics or planning to vote or thinking about their town or their place where they live or whatever it might be, are really not stupid. They're the people you need to be guided by. Are these things the priorities? Are these what we need to be doing? Generally, there aren't that many people who discount everyone, based on background. There are people who might discount you based on your views, but that's all right. So it's never done me any harm. I mean, we've done our best ever performance in Shrewsbury over the last few years, which is pretty amazing considering the Lib Dems were basically nowhere 15 years ago.
It's really good, and I feel like it just goes to show that. I mean, even with Julia Buck, I mean, is there respect between you guys?
Oh yeah. Julie is a great local MP. Because she does a bit for Shropshire. She lobbies. I disagree with her on things all the time, but you would expect that, right?
Oh, it's got to be. It's got to be. I was like, I'm not going to do politics on this episode, but we're doing it. But no, I feel like actually it's not about politics. It's about the fundamentals of being a good human being. And it's about communicating. Like the first thing that you stood up about you and Julia is that you'll talk to people. You'll be out in the community, listening to people, having conversations. I don't know what's going on with your mic stand, but it's there we go. I don't know what's going on with it.
Steadily losing the ability to be heard.
I think this mic stand's about had a few before in the pub. But stepping away from you as a councillor now, you are the mayor of Shrewsbury as well.
Yeah.
Which is a completely different role, right, for you? Yeah,
completely. And I think it's a unifying role. I mean, that's the base purpose of it. So we've had mayors for a long time in Shrewsbury, since 1638. I think originally they were essentially there to mediate disputes in the town square and do the market. But I was doing an assembly actually earlier this week or last week at Mearside, and speaking to the kids there. It was their careers week, and I think they got Julia in as well, and the police and all sorts of people. And one of the really interesting things about doing that was when you talk about the history of the mayoralty, you realise how actually we still do a lot of that today. So it was set up to adjudicate the markets. Actually, we still run the market hall. We still have the old market hall in the town square. We have that role about keeping town a really nice, thriving, buzzy place to live. But what I really like about doing the role is it's about being positive, not negative. It's a constructive, proactive job. It's about saying, actually, this is a great place to live. We've got lots of good things. Here's what we've decided to do, and putting that across to people. It's not a role about kind of having to get into the nitty-gritty of internal politics. It's about actually being pro-Shrewsbury and going out to bat for Shrewsbury, which I find quite natural. I enjoy it.
You had some. We were discussing this earlier, weren't we, Timmy? What does the mayor actually do?
Yeah, what does the mayor actually do? Like for work
and a day-to-day sort of.
And day-to-day, yeah.
So it's a really varied role. So I'd say your base duty is you chair council and you represent council on policy. So what I believe doesn't really matter. Actually, it's what Shrewsbury Council has set as its policy and said it believes and said that it's going to do. So you speak for the town on those issues. But the other thing that you do, which is the day to day, if you like, is you end up spending a lot of time going to events. So I've been to, I think, 10 or 15 primary schools this year to do events with children there, and you present assemblies and talk to them about the role and democracy and how it all fits together. You get to support amazing charities. So Shrewsbury's full of people in the voluntary sector, charity, who just do amazing stuff all the time, and they do it for free, and they do it because they love the town. And actually, it's the only real job or body there which is there to say, actually, well done, this is fantastic, we need to support it. It also means that you pick stuff up from them that you can hopefully go and help sort out. I'd say the other things you do, though, is you do have that, you're the first citizen, so you are the link between a lot of bits of Shrewsbury society and what the council's up to. So actually being out there and being visible and having people tell you what they think and give you feedback, for a lot of groups, for example, religious groups, we've got the Orthodox Church, the Catholic Church, Church of England, Methodist, all of these denominations. It's actually kind of saying we're all part of the same society, all part of the same town. It's about bringing people together, really, and being positive about the town and what we can do in this town. Because I often say I don't live here because I'm from here. I live here because it's just a great place to live. And I think a lot of people feel similarly, I hope.
A lot of us could just move town if we were really. Somebody put a thing to the very typical Facebook comment: if you don't like the town, then you can move out. And but it's true. We could just go. I mean, a lot of us are here because we love the town. I moved here, fell in love with the town. There are people that move away from the Shire to London, whatever, and end up coming back because there's
loads of people. Yeah, and that's because it's a great place to live, and we've got to be positive about it, actually, because we've got some quite special, brilliant things here. And it's not that negativity isn't welcome, because you want scrutiny. If you want to improve things, you've got to know what's going wrong to get stuff right. But actually, we've got to be honest. This is a really good town to live in. We've got amazing community groups. We've got an amazing, history and heritage, particularly in the middle of town. We're lucky to have the number of independent shops and bars and restaurants, places like this. Not many places have all that in one place, especially not that many places with under 100,000 people in the Midlands over an hour from a, commuter hub.
I remember when we were doing a lot of US shows a few years ago. I'd be like, oh, yeah, it's the birthplace of Charlie Adlard. Oh, and Charles Darwin too. You know what I mean? There's lots of heritage here. You got some questions, haven't you, Timmy?
Yes, I have. What has the best thing that you have done as the mayor?
What's the best thing you've done as the mayor?
So I think if I'm talking for the town council, it's so exciting that we're going to get to clean all the streets properly and that we're getting those teams out and that we're doing so much more of that than has been done in the last 5-10 years.
That's a job that was passed from the county to the town council, right?
That's right. And the town's already been stepping up to do a lot of that stuff. But from 1st of April, that big change is going to happen. Just in terms of making a big difference to people. Again, I go back to that assembly I did last week at Mearside, and you talk about how people know what's happening. I said to the kids there, they were sort of year 5 and 6, what do you think we should do in Shrewsbury? What are your top priorities? It's amazing how many of them said litter and keeping things tidy and looking after the town centre and making it all look nice. So, I mean, that's, I think, going to be a really big change and a really positive one. In terms of events, though, and representing the town as mayor, one of the things I've done which I will always remember and which I would never have done if I hadn't done a job like this is, some of your listeners might know the St Julian Centre, the church at the top of the High Street. By Wildcop has been bought by the Orthodox Church, and they're sort of moving into it. We've got an amazing Orthodox Church congregation in Shrewsbury of a couple of hundred, one of the fastest growing in the country, and they've been able to get a bigger premises as a result because they're too big for their old site on sort of Otley Road. So I went to an event with the Archbishop of Western Europe and Great Britain from the Orthodox Church, all of the sort of leading church leaders, I think pretty much all of that 200 congregation, full Orthodox service, incense, bells, singing, incredible. And right here in Shrewsbury. And I absolutely, without doing this sort of job, could have gone years living in the town centre, living right by it and not knowing about it. So it's the stuff that you realise is happening all the time, all around Shrewsbury, that's really interesting and cool and different and quirky or unique or just, frankly unusual like that. Which actually, being mayor means you don't just get to go to and see and broaden your own experience, but you're representing the town, and you're saying, actually, it's great, this is part of the town. So yeah, we try to do more of
progression. Yeah, that Orthodox, the Greek Orthodox Church of Otley Road, that's like, I did some research on that. That's apparently one of the oldest religious sites in the country.
I think it might be the oldest still used church in England.
Over 4,000 years, that site has been used.
Amazing
as a
place.
religious.
And as I say, it's amazing that they've...
It's older than Stonehenge. I think it's older than Stonehenge.
There's a Telegraph article all about it somewhere. It's amazing.
Yeah, that Greek church that's up from us. Before that church was there, underneath it, there's ruins for a site that was used like 4,000 years ago. That's insane.
Wow.
Well, we're on the Celtic border, aren't we? On the Welsh border, and there's lots that happened here thousands of years ago that, you know, absolutely go before the Romans. And, you know, when we talk about Celtic worship, it's all a bit different, isn't it? The Welsh, the Scottish, the Irish, they're all connected with their practices, you know, and that's what that means.
Well, actually, it goes back to why we have a mayor. Shrewsbury was an important place where people traded. The king wanted to set some regulation in place, and he thought, Shrewsbury needs a mayor, let's set one up. King Charles I, 1638, said, we need to make sure this town square is properly regulated and people have a fair deal, and, you know, the Welsh and the English and people from all over can trade here freely, and someone needs to sort of arbitrate that. So, yeah, it's Shrewsbury's history is basically part of its present, which I like. It doesn't feel too distant when you walk through those streets, does it? It feels like you're part of something.
Have you researched the role of the mayor, or has this come naturally? Is history your thing? Do you like?
I love history, and I studied history, but it's local history. One of the things that I think is really interesting about Shropshire history is we've got amazing local historians who do a good job, but there's lots of stuff that clearly wasn't written down. So here's one for you. Why do we have the loggerheads?
Is it something to do with a collection of animals? So,
you know, we're sitting in this room full of Shrewsbury Town stuff and a lot of loggerheads in here.
Yeah.
The reason with the loggerheads is basically no one's totally sure. The leading theory, but it's a theory, is that one of the kings, I think in about the 11th century, thought Shrewsbury so royalist and so loyal and so kind of keen to support their king that he gave them the 3 lions, essentially, even though they're leopards. But that's a theory. We don't know. You read books and people have different opinions. And I've said this before on the radio or podcasts, and I've got some very strong opinions back from those local historians who I'm sure will write in again. But we don't quite know, which I think is fascinating.
It is actually something that's a bit of a mystery. Is that my wife behind me?
It is.
Hello, she's here to take me home. This place is really nice, actually. I was looking around and seeing the Shrewsbury Town connection. It means a lot to people around here, doesn't it? Just looking at the history of the football team, for example. Do you know what I mean? Like, people are connected to that. These are communities that are woven into, whether it's the Drapers, whether it's the football, the history. We talk about there's like old money still in Shrewsbury that goes back hundreds of years.
Yeah, and the football club, I think, is one of the big binding factors. I mean, it's kind of why I always think the mood in the town when we're doing badly is a little bit worse.
Definitely is now, that's for sure.
But, you know, two wins and suddenly everyone feels a bit better.
It does. Bring your questions back up to me because you're doing really good.
Oh, yeah.
You got these questions.
Oh, yeah. Didn't you help Mike Edwards with the bridge? Like
John
Edwards,
yeah.
Mike Edwards, yeah.
Mike
Good old
Edwards.
John.
I did, and we love volunteering and we love people who do good things. And you know, I always think you can overcomplicate it. He's a great guy who goes around and tries to improve the town. And you know, there's the occasion. I had a chat with John the other week in the Guildhall because he said, "I'm going to go and clean the market hall, Alex." And I thought that's absolutely lovely, and we want you to do that, but can you tell us what you're going to do first and where you're going to do it?
Off that Disney.
But yeah, we love that stuff, and I think one of the changes we're trying to bring is actually we should be more in favour of volunteers doing things like, you know, there's different attitudes, especially when you've got something like keeping things clean and tidy. Is that I pay my tax and someone does that for me, or do we play an active role in it? I think the answer's actually it's both. But John does great work, and I think you just have to look at the results he gets and how high a quality the work he does is.
He's a great guy, and he's been messaging me the whole because he's just had a pacemaker fitted, so he just had surgery, and he was out there today, and he put a post up chasing mechs. So he's out there. He's doing a great job, honestly. He's one of the greatest collaborations I think I've done with the Biscuit. We met on the bridge that day.
Another time we've met out and about. Yeah,
and that interview never actually. I don't know if you knew what happened to that interview.
Going to the cafe with with him or something, Dill? What?
So we and you did an interview on the bridge after we rolled our sleeves up and painted all that stuff. That was a great day. That interview ended up deleted. So what had happened was I was transferring it over to my laptop, and then I think what I'd done is I deleted it off the microphone before it's sent over. So I kind of swept the legs from underneath its feet, like he's kind of So that interview it dissolved. We had to redo it. We had to go back into. Timmy, have you got any more questions? Are you editing your questions via hand? Go on, then. You got another one?
Is being the mayor hard?
Well, that's a good question.
I often joke that it's better than doing a proper job. That people do really hard jobs all the time, in industry or in the armed forces or, running hospitality or, people do actually properly hard jobs. Compared to those, this is not a hard job. But it's got lots of challenges and lots of responsibility. And actually, you do have to be on a lot. There's a thing where you've got to be, holding yourself to a reasonable standard, which is actually even harder if you're just born and bred somewhere and know loads of people. But it's in the scheme of things, I think it's almost, compared to the people who do really, really hard graft, no, this is a great job, and I'm really lucky to do it, and I try and work hard to make it worth it for people.
Being on is an incredibly hard thing to do, especially because you're both a politician and a mayor at the same time. And that's all it takes is that one picture or that little reel that maybe somebody's made of you going, do you know what, just bugger off. You know what I mean? Like, it could happen, couldn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's not even about it's just about making sure that you remember that you're representing something more than yourself, isn't it? It's about the day. It's about the day to day. But I mean, don't think I've been like that much in my life over the years, even before doing this. So I don't think it's going to be a.
They do say, when you get a job as a teacher or somewhere where you're not supposed to be swearing or anything like that, it's good practice to just not do that at home, because then it becomes like a natural thing. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to break those rules if they're not even not part of your.
And I think sometimes people complain about this stuff, which I don't really, because I think it's part of the job. You factor it in. You only get a year as mayor. You get longer in politics, obviously. You've got another good few years at the county council to go. But you factor that in. And if you think you can opt out of it and you're thinking about standing or doing something, I'm very sorry. I don't think you can. I think it's sort of mixed, and you've just got to deal with it. I'm laughing at the photo because you're laughing. I'm
laughing because my wife's got a bag of scratchings in the background. She's trying to quietly open them.
Excellent.
And then it went.
Yeah, but we've got to you sort of the tail end of your mayorship, your tenure. You've been out and about. What's that been like, trying to fit that into your work schedule? You got family and friends and stuff that you want to go and see. How's that been for you?
Oh, you're just really busy. I mean, it sounds glib, but you just have a really, really busy schedule, and you have to work quite hard to keep your diary going. And I think we'll have done 150 or so mayoral events, but it's also the correspondence and all that gets a lot higher, and just the day-to-day. What I've really tried to do with it is, I think people often, they get to be mayor for a year and they go, I want this to really leave a personal imprint. I think I've got some unique background or things that I want to do, which I can sort of leave a mark. I don't think you can with an organisation or an institution that's nearly 400 years old. I think actually it's about making those traditions really relevant and kind of being a higher profile with it, and making sure that people know what the organisation you represent, the town council, is all about. So I've tried to do it in a high profile way, but also in quite a traditional way. I don't think it's not about me. It's about making sure that feels relevant, because there's lots of places where interest just tails off, and you stop getting the invites. And actually, I think people like the traditional stuff in Shrewsbury. They've chosen to live here for a reason.
Yeah,
it's part of the history.
I was going to mention the rules and the do's and the don'ts, because I'm sorry, Timmy, I know you had a question, but there were comments. There were comments about your attire when we were painting the bridge, and I didn't appreciate those comments, because how nice is it to see a mayor that actually rolls his sleeves up and gets stuck in? And you literally had your chains in your bag safely. You took them out for a photo, and then you put them back in the bag. And there were comments about your attire with those chains. And I thought, actually, do you know what? it was nice that you were doing that. At least you were out there doing that. You know?
I've not lost a lot of sleep over that.
At least someone did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's making it relevant. It's not about changing traditions. It's about making them relevant to the modern age. And
you want to get paint on the chains. Do you know what I mean?
Can you tell us about any specific projects that you're most excited about bringing to Shrewsbury?
I think in general, we are making some big changes at both the councils in Shrewsbury and Shropshire. We've inherited a situation where there is a real need for change because the money's running out or has run out at Shropshire, and Shrewsbury is in a position where it could step up and take some things on and do some things differently. So I'd say that the big project that I see as undertaking is all about bringing power back to the Shrewsbury level. So Shropshire is a big council. It deals with lots of things. It looks after older people. It looks after children with SEND who need a bit of support. It does loads and loads of stuff. That cost is going to grow and grow and grow, and the amount that you can raise isn't going to grow and grow and grow. So either you do the radical, big, bold stuff and change that and make sure that the town has a real say and some real control and real power over it, or you just risk losing things. So for me, it's kind of that project, which is all about bringing power back to the town level, making sure that those priorities, clean streets, brilliant parks, CCTV, crime, all the stuff that people really care about, it's making sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to deliver some change and make those things better, because they haven't been good enough over the last few years. And as I say, it doesn't really matter whether you knock on the doors of people in an older area or go to a primary school. That's the feedback I get everywhere, and we're trying to change that.
Is it fair to say? I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to find the best way to put in this. Are we losing a positive mindset as a collective, as a society? Is it like being swept away from us? Because at the moment, all I'm seeing is negativity. Or is that just how social media, all the media, just want us to see that?
I think that social media bears very little resemblance to real life, and I think that that's been a change. Really, I don't want to go too hard political, probably since new people took over in America and made changes. I just think it used to be a more light democratic place. It's now the loudest win. It's always been a bit like that, but I gather I get lots of Facebook comments on lots of different things. I haven't had social media on my phone for years, to be honest. It's a work thing. It's about saying, here's what we're up to. Sometimes you need feedback, of course, but personally, I found the best thing in politics is knock on doors, go out and about, talk to people, be at community events. That's actually how you
got to have tough skin, though, haven't you? You've got to have tough skin. I mean, like the bus lane situation by the train station is one of those things. The Pigeon Bridge, that area of town, man, it just seems to attract so much negativity. And it doesn't matter what you do. I mean, I remember you going, "Oh, there's going to be a mural painted. It's going to be amazing," and people going, "Oh yeah, but how much are we going to charge for that?" Like, I'm just like, oh my god. Just like I like to also like this the biscuit. I'm sorry, listeners, if that maybe I don't mean to like poke at you if that's how you feel. This podcast is meant to be a break away from the negativity. It's all got to be about positivity and positive changes. And I just saw that as something nice,
I think it's also actually, when you look at how democracy and government is meant to work, it's not about issues in isolation. It's not about one by one. It's about, on the whole, do you think this is the right direction? Are you happy with the people you've got in? Is there trust? Do you think that it's better overall than it was a few years ago? When I think what people in politics always forget is, you can be in the middle of something that feels really huge and like it's the most important pressing issue and it's going to dominate, and next week it just not really feature on people's minds. Not necessarily saying that issues like around the station are like that. I think that's a longer term problem we've got to fix, but there are loads and loads of things I can mention in British politics which were the headline of every paper one day and basically no one remembers. But you do remember how you feel and whether you felt like it was handled properly and whether or not you had sensible people in charge and whether or not the right sorts of noises and decisions were being made. We've got a 4-year term here, so if people want more of the sort of changes that we're proposing, they'll have a chance to give us a yes or a no. It's just they won't have a chance for a couple of years.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? And like Shrewsbury's like, I feel like the problem with Shrewsbury is trapped by a river and a lot of historic buildings that they can't really.
We've got a tiny medieval town centre that was not made for cars, and it's good that we have ways to get cars in, and we need cars for shopping and for access and for everything. But it really wasn't designed for that, and that's no fault of the Georgians or the Tudors. They, how are they meant to? But similarly, it's silly to pretend or to keep people under the illusion that you can keep having more and more traffic forever, and it'll be fine. It'll get worse unless we do something or change something or look to those sorts of changes, even if they are controversial.
Yeah, and we've got 3 bridges that cross the town. One which you have to pay 20p to cross.
30p now.
30p. Oh, it's gone up. Oh my God, the world's gone mad. And it's one of those things. You can't really do much with that. You can't expand too far because there's water, or like we mentioned, the historic buildings. So people need to keep a cool head when they think about things like that. What have been like the things that took you by surprise with the job as the mayor as opposed to a politician? Is there something about this role that you didn't think it was going to be that way and it was good? I mean, it's something that maybe took you by surprise.
I don't know if surprise is the right word, but I think it's interesting that when you have big town-wide issues that arise, or events or announcements or things that are kind of not political but really matter to lots of people, the flower show is the best example of this so far.
We were talking about that earlier today.
Even though you don't have a political role in the mayoralty, people do look to you for guidance and advice and direction. I think I had a really interesting conversation just before I took the role on with someone who'd worked for the mayoralty in Derbyshire over the years, and he said the thing that really struck him during COVID was actually how people really looked to those civic figures. They didn't look to council leaders. They looked to mayors, and they looked to Lord Lieutenants, and they looked to those sorts of traditional community figures. So it doesn't surprise me, but the effect you can have as a unifier in different bits of the community and bringing people together and actually bringing calm heads rather than knee-jerk. You're in a role that's been going for 400 years. It could not have survived without those sorts of instincts being built into it. I think it speaks to kind of what people expect from leaders in all walks of life, but especially politics, I suppose.
It's just not. There is something really reassuring about something like the flower show and having the mayor there and doing what the mayor normally does, because it makes the event what it's supposed to be, isn't it? It's meant to be an event of tradition, and it is sad that the flower show is not going to be coming back this year, if ever. I mean, I'm sure it'll come back at some point, but it's one of the legacy events in the country. I mean, never mind Shropshire, So.
Well, exactly, and we've got to make sure that we're still the town of flowers, like we've always been being over the last 100 years or so. Percy Thrower really cemented that legacy for us. Something I really like. If you're ever in the Dingle in the middle of the quarry, you will find some flowers which are still made from cuttings from the Percy Thrower era. So wow. Percy's never really gone, and as long as that's there, I'm content to say I think we are still the town of flowers.
There's great coffee in his coffee shop as well, and it's garden centre.
Great. We're so lucky with the quarry.
It is a great space, and you got great events as well coming up. When does your mayorship end? Is it April or is it May?
12th of May. We hand over to Bernie Bentick from Mayoral, who'll be the new mayor.
So you're going to be there for Loop Fest?
I'm definitely there for. I was actually buying my tickets last night, so I'm going as a punter. I may well, if they want me along with some change on, I'm very happy to. But I'm not missing Ash or Panic Shack or Melon or any of these fantastic bands.
Ash, I'll probably be there first. I need to speak to Jimmy because I want to be there on Biscuit. Try and stop me, actually, Jimmy. I'll be there. It's one of the most amazing events because it's just this flow of people just moving around the town. It's almost like the town becomes its own living organism, where it's just constantly just flowing like this. It was
that August one we had, not last year but the year before, was the busiest the town centre was on footfall counters in summer since records began.
I'm so excited about it.
It's amazing.
It's going to be great.
I mean, the lineup this year is properly amazing as well. As I say, I'm going at the moment, unless Jimmy fancies sending me an email, which he may well, going very much as a punter regardless, because it just seems like the way to lift the town. And actually, I represent the town centre as a councillor. Really, the complaint numbers about noise and pollution, things that other areas get, pretty low here. Really, really low. In fact, I think people like the town doing well, which is
mad, because when someone's whether it's at the showground or whether it's in the quarry, where we live, just off Otley Road or Otley Road, we can hear it right from our apartment. We can hear it. It's not loud, but it's just part of the town, man. It's part of the town's DNA. We're a party town. We're going for the town of culture, which is going to be great. I want to get like biscuit deep into that. I really do, because I think it's going to be such a, whether we get it or not, just the surge and the drive to be able to get to that point is going to be really important, because it's going to bring out the best in this town. It really is.
And we'd be such a good winner for that, right? Because we tick so many boxes. You know, we're not one of those southern towns on a London commuter line. We are our own thing. We're quite independent, really. We've got the longest row of indie shops, even. Like, there's just, I think we've got a lot going for us. That's a really exciting application. I mean, I don't know what the government are looking for, what the purpose is, but we could do a lot for the town if we got that. We could do an awful lot.
Yeah.
What have been some of your highlights as the Shrewsbury Mayor?
Shrewsbury Mayor.
Shrewsbury Mayor. I think that the way that you meet people all over the community who are just doing those incredible things. I mean, I was chatting to a guy the other day who will remain nameless because he'd be too modest and embarrassed to be mentioned, who has just been going out and cleaning the pig trough in Coton Hill, basically week in, week out, just to keep it tidy because he lives around the corner. That's one little example of one of our 80,000 people. But you just go around and you meet people who dedicate so much of their life and their time to just making town a really special, nice place to live. And they don't do it, you know, because they have to. They do it because they think it's the right thing to do, and they think that Shrewsbury's a sort of place where people appreciate it. And actually, what really strikes me is that is so common here. You know, there's places where that isn't common. There's places where that would be unheard of. Like, Shrewsbury keeps those sort of traditions alive in a big way.
Yeah, it's one thing that drove me to stop the podcast. Actually, is that people were proud to be here. They were proud to be here. They would talk about the town. They'd be proud about it. It was for the love of Shrewsbury, an amazing group. People sharing photography and the nice things about the town. I mean, it took a turn. I mean, like all social media, like you said, it's just an echo chamber, isn't it? Facebook. It becomes one of these things where one person will say something, then somebody will jump on, and then somebody has to disagree with it, and then they jump on that person. It's like, it's one of those things. But like, I remember I put a picture about the Black Lives Matter stuff that was happening during the pandemic, and you're a virtual signaler and all this kind of stuff, and it really upset me. I'm a bit easier now with it. Like, I'm a bit harder skinned, I think.
And I think that's politics and media. It has got coarser in the last few years, hasn't it? And there's no way around that. It's about responding. But I think more widely in politics, a lot of stuff has become about people are tired of talk. They kind of want to see things change. And there's almost a growing group of people who I speak to who kind of say, I don't really mind what the change is. I just know the status quo is unacceptable, and we need to do something. And if someone's got a plan and is willing to lead on that, I'll give them the time of day.
Well, we've seen so many towns have renovations around us. Wrexham years and years ago had Eagles Meadow built. Telford have had amazing renovations. We've seen stuff in cities like Liverpool have massive multi-million-pound renovations. Everyone's having all these changes made, and then Shrewsbury's kind of like just there, you know. And it's hard because it's a traditional town, like we've mentioned, trapped in a river, medieval buildings. I'm really excited about the Riverside. I think it's going to be really good. I think something needs to happen with that side of town anyway. There are so many places I see opportunity.
Yeah, the Riverside's a great example, though, because, I mean, that scheme has so many benefits. So part of it is about flooding. You know, the final fifth of it's going to be a park, but if you go past it at the moment, all the work is about flood mitigation, really. It's somewhere for the water to go, keep it away from businesses and homes, you know, especially downstream, which is so important. And I grew up in flood country, and then I've lived in Bellevue in the town centre, which is also flood country, so I know that firsthand. But it's also, actually, that is a bit of town you don't go a lot of the time. It's not, you don't walk past it. You might drive on Smithfield Road. You might need to have a specific thing at the Guildhall or something, or the theatre, but you don't pass by it like you pass by the High Street or the Co-op or other parts of the town centre. Actually opening it up and linking it to the rest of the town centre and having people live there, and hotel is still the plan there as well, which that Premier Inn, which is a bit dirty, people think might not be doing well. It's actually the fact it's one of the most booked in the whole country, because Shrewsbury's got a big shortage of that. So it'll open it up. It'll make it one of those spaces which feels lived in rather than just something which was stuck there in the 60s and passed by. I think it'll be a big change, actually, the Riverside.
Have you got a question, Timmy?
How do Liberal Democrats value translate onto practical policies for a town like Shrewsbury?
I think it's all about bringing things locally.
Thank you for that,
Giving
Google.
the community power. That's not bad, that. I mean, what are Liberal politics about? They're about giving people and communities power rather than them being in the hands of governments or even necessarily business. I mean, I think that we're quite a traditional Liberal group in Shrewsbury. We're about localism, clean streets. We're about action on crime. You know, we've managed to work with the police to get the town centre base back, and we support them in the work they do to make sure town is safe. We're pro-business. Shrewsbury's at the home of independent businesses. We want them to thrive. We want footfall on the high street. We want, you know, ways for people to get in at night, like the night bus, which has been brought in. For us, it's really about creating those opportunities for the economy to do well, keeping things safe and well looked after.
And linking us up with the rest of the country as well. I mean, it's so important.
And looking up, you know, I've never come up with a single policy idea, but I've stolen dozens of really good ones, and we've put a lot of them into place here. You know, a lot of what we're doing with clean streets at the moment, councils in Buckinghamshire and Somerset and Devon have done really successfully. A lot of what we're doing with CCTV has been done in town and city centres all over the country. A lot of what we might like to do with traffic and trying to keep the town centre, you know, a bit less congested. You look at places like Lichfield are good examples of where that stuff's been successful. Like we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We're all about those kind of classic Liberal policies that keep people safe, keep the streets clean, keep businesses doing well, keep things thriving, and ideally that are properly local, because we are different to other places here. We're pretty special, and I'd like to keep us that way.
Do you know one of the ideas I've had, and it's like completely like, so from the Shropshire Wildlife Museum all the way up to Nando's, I think that area there needs to completely change. I think you need to pick up Asda and move it somewhere else, and then just bulldoze the whole lot, Cineworld, all of that stuff, and completely rebuild that area into something for leisure, food, entertainment. That whole area, and I know there's lots of problems with archaeology in the area because of the Abbey, but I feel like that whole side of town is so wasted. I think like because you've got a Chinese restaurant that nobody is closed. I mean, they're meant to be building a McDonald's there, but I don't know about that. There's a nice pub there, but there's Cineworld, which I think you need a tetanus jab to go into, and the Nando's, which only the cool kids go to. So I feel like that area of town is such a wasted opportunity, I think.
And I think it's also, we've got to be honest about how to keep the town centre successful and how to keep town so cars are so important because we need people to get into town, and especially those bigger purchases. But you know, 25,000 people a week walk over the Greyfriars Bridge. The council only sells 22,000 car parking tickets a week, and that's not including Port Hill and Welsh and, you know, all of the other ways into town. We're seeing more and more people cycle. You know, some of the Telegram cameras, we've got, you know, roughly double the number that we used to have. A lot of the time, you've got a busy Saturday or Sunday, all the car parks are full, and people are wondering how they're going to get in. And actually, that's what making the park and ride more regular has been about. Bringing the night bus in has been about. Actually, having the high street shut to traffic has worked. Got 40% more footfall. Like,
I do like that though. When you stood in town and there's no traffic running through it, it's actually quite a nice, relaxing feeling, isn't it? It's nice vibe.
And it's not about being pro or anti-car. It's just about knowing supply and demand. You know, similarly, we need more blue badge spaces right near the square, which, you know, if we want to do that, we've only got a limited amount of space. We've got historic buildings. Well, who do you prioritise and who do you say has access to areas? We've already got access-only streets like Fish Street and Claremont Hill, but they're not properly enforced. So I think some of those things I think about quite a lot, because actually we can't do a Birmingham and just bet on cars being everything. We have to think about the other ways people are going to get in and, frankly, spend money and keep things thriving.
And that's not, I mean, we went to an England game at Villa Park last year, and when everybody came out of that match, you couldn't move. I mean, we were very lucky. We found the lane, luckily, to get us through. But like for the small streets and stuff, you just couldn't move through that town. I mean, it's great, all well and good having these amazing roads that people can use, but like once they're full up because of a big event or something, that's it.
And my view is there's no point ignoring problems if they're only going to grow.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
you've got to attack stuff head on, otherwise it just gets worse. And it's tempting in politics because it might not be your problem by the time it's a big issue, but that's not my style really. So,
do you feel like you've had to work to be able to develop a tough skin, or has it become natural to you? Is it something that you develop over experience with years? And
I think the experience helps because it makes you realise what the spectrum can be. Actually, I know roughly where the kind of bellwethers are. Are we doing an all right job or not? If we're really, there are people and places where actually even they aren't seeing our point of view and they're quite sympathetic. Generally, you've got to rethink, and you've got to always have your 2 ears and 1 mouth. But I think in general, it gives you a tougher skin. I was kind of prepared for that. I sort of factored that in, to be totally honest. I think politics has a bad rep at the moment. It's had a bad rep forever. There's a great Times letter just after the sort of war saying how awful politics are and it's the worst politicians in history, and that was Clement Attlee and Winston Churchill. So clearly that's been common feeling for basically forever. But it's definitely harsher at the moment, and you've got to be tougher. But on the other hand, I think politicians need to learn from that and go, actually, I need to defend what I'm doing. I can't just assume people are going to, take up our ideas. You've got to go out and bat for stuff properly and make the case. I think you can get, kind of deeper support doing that as well.
And do you think it's hard for you to have friends in opposite teams?
I've always liked working with opposition parties, and we've opened the council up a lot, I think, since May. So for the first time ever, there are opposition scrutiny chairs properly, and people from Reform, Green, Conservative and Labour having those chairs and vice chairs. I think it's good for the process. You want strong decision making, but you do need that scrutiny, and actually you shouldn't fear that. And I'd much rather it was in public and in council than people were totally shut out. And the first we heard about it was when there were sort of people picketing in front of the Guildhall.
I think that becomes stagnant, and I think that's what happened with. I'm very sorry again to support us, but with Kaczynski, he's like he was never here. So we just had to just deal with it if he's not here and he's not answering those questions and he's not challenging those things, and it becomes stagnant and people go, well, what's the point?
Yeah, and actually it should always be living, and you shouldn't be that afraid of changing your mind. I think that's another important principle.
Timmy was pointing at his phone then about Monty. We're going to mention him in the intro for this one, okay?
All right.
Yeah, or the intro for the other one. There was a young lad. We were at the Shrewsbury Coffee House when we interviewed Libby Gilksman, and I was setting up my microphones, and it was really nice. And there's this young family, and this young lad was kind of tugging at my sleeve. He was like, excuse me, sir, excuse me. And he was asking what I was doing, wasn't he? He was like, what is this? And I explained what it was, a Shrewsbury Biscuit. And he was like, really excited, became overwhelmed with excitement. Oh, I'll do my own videos and stuff. It was really nice to meet him, wasn't it, with Monty? So he's going to get 3 shout-outs now because he's really inspired. He was like, his dad was going, we're going to listen to the podcast. It'll hopefully inspire him because he does interviews with his dad, and now we can listen to the podcast and develop. And I was like,
tips from the best, yeah. Good for you, Monty.
Really inspired me. So thank you, Monty. That's what that was. There. Have you got any more questions for Alex? Have you got anything on the phone about the role of the mayor? Because you wanted to. He was full of questions before we came up to this.
I've been really lucky. I built the record beat the record for youngest mayor we've had in that time, but I could yet be beaten. Of course, you've probably got a few years to.
So you are at the moment. You are the youngest mayor in Shrewsbury.
Well, the youngest mayor I've ever had, I think. But lots and lots of young mayors up and down the country. It's one of those roles that you do often.
Like I said, there's lots of young people stepping into politics at the moment. Some for the right reasons, some for the not.
Well, Shropshire's got the youngest council it's ever had, the youngest town council in Shrewsbury it's ever had. It is noticeable. And the thing is, it's not to say you don't want experienced people, retired people. That's an important group. But you want a mix, don't you? That's the bottom line. You want an even mix of people from all walks of life.
It's changing things. It really is changing things.
Did you always want to be the mayor when you were younger?
No, I've never had a plan of any sort, really. I didn't think I was going to win the first time I stood. We didn't know if we were going to take control. The last election we fought. I mean, you get an inkling, and if you know what you're doing, you're able to figure out roughly what's going to go on and the direction the winds are travelling. But no, I hadn't even when I was standing for council the first time 5 or 6 years ago, I hadn't even really thought about it, to be honest. But I think it's one of those where you don't necessarily think of yourself as someone who's able to do it until the opportunity arises, and then. Actually, we had a really new council last term too. This one's an even newer one. We were kind of at the point where we were thinking who could do it, who would like to do it. went round, I'm not sure, I'm busy, I got this, my work wouldn't allow it, then actually go, well, you know what? I do work flexibly. I could make something like that happen. If we have a different role on the county council next year, I could fit it in quite well. I would like to do it. It's cool. I'm born and bred. I love the town. It's kind of a great thing to do. A bit of a temptation to beat the youngest ever record, obviously. I've got a competitive streak. I think you've got to be if you're working in politics and elections and trying to win. And
you've got such a hunger about you, in a nice way as well. It's not like banging on the tables. We need to change. You're kind of like, actually, no, this is a really nice thing I want to do.
But you do have to figure out, what do I want to do with it, and what themes do I want to do, and how do I want to play it, because it is a bit of a choose your own adventure. And I say, different people do it in a different way. For me, the two key sort of phrases have been high profile and traditional.
Yeah. It's nice to be in the presence of someone who actually cares about the town, as opposed to someone who's just there because it's a powerful job that you can. You know what I mean? It's nice to. The passion for the town, it's not something you can fake. It's something that you have or you're not.
And I think I went to chat to this guy in Derbyshire who'd run the mayoral office there, and one of the things he really, really wanted to emphasise is people occasionally do the sort of civic roles as either a jolly or as a retirement gift, and it shouldn't be that, and it isn't that, and we can't let it be that. And in Shrewsbury, we've been lucky that it hasn't been that.
No.
But that does happen in other places, and so we've got to make sure it's relevant and worth it, essentially, for ratepayers who make sure the town council can function. I
don't know if I'm naive or if I'm just like, when it comes to meeting people, I'd see the best in people. So I've interviewed the mayor from the Green Party, Julian Dean. I've spoken to people from all kinds of. I've spoken to Tories, Labour, Liberal Democrats, Greens. I like to see the best in people. It doesn't matter where they're from, and I feel like that because I'm kind of like. Guys, I am a little bit concerned with social media at the moment. I think there's lots of nasty stuff going on. I've put a timer on my Facebook now. I only have an hour a day. That's it. And that's to do my biscuit stuff. Get out. Don't want to be sitting there scrolling through all the hard, horrible stuff that we're seeing. I like to see the positive in people. So I'm interviewing these people from different parties. I'm like, oh, you're nice. You do all these things. I don't look at it as you're right wing, you're left wing. I'm like, do you actually care? That's what means to me.
And actually, I think people put up their own barriers for whether or not they could do it. You can, if you're the sort of person who's interested, who cares about the town, who's willing to work with, not just work against, stand, win, do it. Stand against me, beat me, that's democracy. Actually, I think that people's civic duty has changed over the years, and there used to be a bigger pool of people, albeit an older pool of people, and a more, from sort of traditional professional sectors rather than the whole of society, who used to see it as a real privilege and used to make sure to come out of the woodwork and put their name forward proactively. I think nowadays the honest answer is you have to go and ask people to stand. You have to go and be quite proactive. I spend a bit of time regularly asking people I think would be good, consider it, think about it, right? It's possible, there's no bar. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that means it broadens out. Again, we have a younger town council than we've ever had. We've got a much more ethnically diverse county council than we've ever had. There's lots of positives to that in terms of just making sure everyone has a voice at the table rather than just a given group. That's important. I think it's important as well to look at the actual facts and the figures rather than what's been said and what you're listening to. Because I've recently learned that I've got no journalistic integrity when it comes to Shrewsbury Town, because I do a lot with the foundation, I do a lot with the club. I'm part of the supporters panel, and I'm supposed to keep a level head, but when they're fielding players that can't score and we need goals, I'm kind of what are you doing that for? I feel like that's the only time I kind of lose my integrity a little bit. That's because I love the town. Club, I think that's allowed. I think that's you got
who are your role models?
Oh, great question.
I think in kind of general, what I was going to say before the last question ended was where you get your views from and people, and the answer is go and talk to people, read books, engage with things properly and fully rather than social media, basically. Actually, generally, all the people in history who you look back on fondly and think were kind of influential, positive figures are not people who chase the short term, they're people who chase the long term. I think that when I look at kind of role models, I do look at people in politics in particular from other parties. So like actually the way that people in, Labour in the 90s, like Blair and Brown, took the fight to, a party that wasn't capable of winning or doing anything and changed it and won is really impressive. Same for David Cameron in the Tories, actually address the problem and properly try to change the way that they function to appeal to, more people and to listen to what people were saying to them. You go back throughout sort of pages of history, and a lot of the people I kind of admire, particularly in politics, but not exclusively, are people who were willing to confront the problem head on. And I guess in terms of style, I think you can be kind and conciliatory and compromise where you need to, but we have problems in Shropshire and Shrewsbury and we need to solve them, and they need to be solved head on. I don't think we're at the point where we can skirt around it, especially with the way the finances are going. So yeah, I think when you look at role models, I think I'd be lying if I said any individual one came to mind quickly and as a total ideal, but there's lots of people, even in recent history,
a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Yeah, who've made necessary changes. I think the public are clever. They understand unpopular but necessary. They understand long-term over short-term. They understand that plans take years. People are not stupid. But
there are people that have disappointed me that, like Boris Johnson, for example, before he became the Prime Minister, I thought he was just a bit of a bozo, do you know what I mean? But in a nice way, like he was kind of this lovable rogue, do you know what I mean? I thought that was quite fun. And then obviously when he became Prime Minister, Elon Musk. I thought I've got a picture with of Elon Musk on one of my t-shirts, my old Thor's Kin t-shirts, because it was a subject that we covered in one of the episodes.
Yeah.
And I thought he could have been the real life Tony Stark, and he's gone in the complete opposite direction. You know what I mean? It's so dangerous taking these people that you like, I wouldn't say adore, but you do look up to, and then they become the opposite of what you want.
Yeah, and again, I just think history, even recent history, not necessarily hundreds of years ago, generally looks favourably on long-term thinking, and not on people who just did what they wanted to do in the short term and then burnt out. If you've got big problems, you need to have big solutions, I think. And some of the changes we're doing will stand the test of time here. I know they will, and I don't mind if the appreciation for that comes a lot later.
Yeah, but we'll see. Absolutely. Who are your role models? Who do you look up to? Say you got two. You could choose two. See, it's quite a charged question, that is. You have to really dig deep. One of mine's Kevin Smith. I love Kevin Smith. Creative, independent content, movies.
It's a difficult question.
Any teacher, celebrity, person in your life that really inspires you to do the right thing, makes you think a bit harder? See the cogs turning and said, remember, this is a podcast, right? This is dead air right now. What's going on? Maybe we can come back in the outro.
Yeah, come back to me.
And we'll come back. He's thinking about his... That's really nice. Well, listen, Alex, you're always really approachable. Always really... Is that what you'd say to people if they saw you out and about?
Absolutely. Come up and say hello. Problem big or small, we'll do our best. What I do often cheekily do is ask people to send me an email so I remember.
Yeah.
If you get that too often, you do drop stuff.
Is there a lot of information coming at you every day? Is it seem to be a lot of emails?
I'd say that's the defining feature of the job. It's comprehending lots of information quickly and doing stuff with it.
And I guess there's lots of, there's potholes all on the town halls, and then there's these are statistics here that we need to look at, and this is how their education's doing, and this is what we need to focus on here. There's all these different aspects that you need to look at, right? I guess
exactly. And as I say, in terms of having a philosophy to deal with it, for me, it is about actually what are the really significant longer term changes that we need to make to make the town the sort of vibrant economically and socially place that it needs to be. Actually, if we have to choose between short term and long term, we are always choosing long term at the moment, and we're the best part of 10 months a year into that. It's only green shoots for now.
I always had this idea of doing a political debate, but a positive one. No, instead of tearing holes into each other, you got to pay each other compliments. Let's do it that way, shall we? And see if we can create some middle ground. But I don't think it would end up that way. I have all these positive ideas. Have you got a question?
No, I have figured out who my role model is.
Oh, okay. Right, we're going back to that.
One obvious one is my parents, obviously.
Yeah.
Ah, great answer. That's a fantastic
And
answer.
also maybe like
I thought you said you had it. I mean, thank you very much, by the way.
I think that's a good answer.
well,
You
that's
could
two
just end it
people.
there.
Two people.
Your parents. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll buy that. We'll buy that. Alex, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast.
Always lovely to chat. Nice to have proper microphones.
I hope it's been nice and chilled for you, because I don't like to do like in your face stuff.
Enjoying it, and a nice setting and a nice pint of Twisted Spire as well.
That's a really good beer, by the way. Very, very. I mean, I like. I do like a zesty beer, so that was quite nice. Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me.
Cheers.
And guys, don't go anywhere. We'll catch you on the outro, where Timmy will maybe think of some more role models. Maybe. We don't know, but Alex, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your term as the mayor. I'm sure we'll meet up again at some point later down the line.
Absolutely, it'll definitely happen. we won't plan it.
Well, it's a small town. See you later now. Cheers. So there we have it. There is your mayor of Shrewsbury. I hope you enjoyed that one. Alex is great. Timmy, well done. You did some great work there with your questions. And also thank you so much to the staff from the Prince of Wales pub. I wanted to do this with a pint, you know? It's just one of those things where we've both had long days. It's nice to sit down, have a pint, and have a chat. It's not what I always have to do on a podcast. You know I love a good coffee shop, don't you? Do you know what I mean? So it was just really cool setting. So thank you to the Prince of Wales. And thank you, guys. Honestly, the responses to the recent episodes that we've had have been incredible. You've left me humbled, and I really cannot thank you enough. The listener base seems to have found China, which is great. It's one of the places where the podcast has not really been in the past, but thank you so much to the new fan base we have in China. I hope you're enjoying the episodes. It's just mad to think that we got listeners all around the world, and we got new listeners in Chile as well. It's just, I get to see these analytics, and I get to see the show grow, and it really is absolutely humbling to know that we've got listeners all around the world listening to this little podcast about an amazing town with an above average host, I gotta say. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, guys. If this is your first time listening to the Shrewsbury Biscuit, please give me a follow on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm getting out and about making more TikToks and stuff now. I got these. I'm going into town in a second. Actually, I'm going to go making these history minutes. You know, I did a reel of Shrewsbury Castle. And it was, right, let's do the history of Shrewsbury Castle in 1 minute. It was really fun to make. And it's by far one of the best sort of TikToks and reels that I made. So I want to make more of them. And if you have any suggestions of where you would like me to go, we'll keep it Shropshire. You know, like Shrewsbury's amazing, but there's so much in Shropshire that I don't want to leave it hidden. So, yeah, we'll do those history minutes and bites and brews as well. I've got another one of them coming to you from Exopoli, a really, really amazing place on Longdon Road. One of the cutest Greek restaurants I have seen. It is like stepping into a whole new universe. I've been chatting to Jackie, the owner of the restaurant, and we're going to get her on the podcast, I think. But there is going to be a Bites and Brews being released from that. These are like little things that I'm making gradually. I ain't putting no schedule on it. I ain't releasing one a week and all this sort of stuff. I'll make them as and when they come, because it's got to be fun, hasn't it? You know, I like making content. Ladies and gentlemen, you are all awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, wow, I feel like I'm at the circle. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. If you want to learn everything you need to know about me, you go to the website, which is the shrewsburybiscuitpodcast.co.uk. All of the episodes are on there, and there's like little bits of information. It's really cool. And that is lovingly made for us by our sponsors, Web Orchard. If you need a website for whatever it is you do, they will make the perfect website just for you. And if you've, gone and bought a website because you've heard all about it on the Shrewsbury Biscuit, then let them know that it was me that sent you, because then he'll give me a hearty high five. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. You guys are awesome. Have a great day. Peace out.
Roll with the punches. Made my bed. Ignore my hunches. I focused on the wrong stuff, but baby, you are the change now. Let them talk, let them talk, let them talk. Took my lumps. Roll with the punches. Made my bed. Ignore my hunches. I I focus on the wrong stuff, but baby, you